Hello, BookTube, and welcome back to June on the Range 2025, the beloved BookTube event created by Michael K. Vaughan, where we talk about Westerns in the month of June. The month of June has 10 days left. So where did that go? June on the Range is always over before it should be. And I treated this year's June on the Range inexcusably because I missed a week. I had a guest over here for a week and did almost none of my original scheduled BookTube content. I don't apologize because the visit was wonderful, but I did miss a week, and that puts me way behind all my June on the Range co-hosts. so I have been throwing a Western on the pile for the night's reading, and the night's reading has been in the last few days getting longer and longer every night, and I did last night. Last night I went again with an author that I have come to love through June on the Range. I would never have read this author otherwise. William McLeod Rain is his name. He's a turn of the 20th century writer who was born outside of America, but he came to America and learned rancher ways and cowboy ways. He actually saw the frontier while it was still seeable, and wrote a huge number of books, a huge number of Western novels. And the last one that I read was terrific. The last one I read by him was terrific. So I thought last night, just pick another Rain book and put that on the pile. So I picked one called Yukon Trail. And I did put it on the pile, and I started to read it. And I was about a chapter in. Probably I should have noticed earlier than that, but I was so caught up in how he sets scenes. So he understands when to deploy his narrative gimmicks. He knows when to do that. It's marvelous to watch. Just as a matter of clockwork, even if you're not interested in the drama, and you will be interested in the drama, it's just marvelous to watch. And so I was caught up in that. I was paying attention to that. And then only a little ways in, I realized, well, okay, but this is set in the Yukon. This is set in the Arctic, almost. And it's about fur trapping and whatnot. It's, in other words, by the time I got very little way in here, 2 chapters, maybe 3, I realized 2 things. 1, I don't think this counts for June on the Range, and 2, I don't care. I don't care at all. I would not have stopped reading. It was just too good. And I don't know, once upon a time at the beginning of June on the Range, when June on the Range started, the very first, I made my usual Jesuitical video about what counts as a Western. And I not only gave ideological prescriptions, it has to be before the closing of the continent, but after the Civil War. But I also gave geographical constraints about where it should be taking place, between which 2 rivers, between which 2 borders, north and south. And hilariously, considering the founder of June on the Range, when I did that, I left out California and was roundly taken to task for it. I had to revise my definitions, which Jesuitical ponces never like to do. And I don't know. So then I was wondering, given that, are we sure this isn't a Western? It certainly acted like one. There is a very strong male character. There is a slightly less strong but still noble male character who is the eyes and ears of the reader. There is a villain, and there is a virtuous maiden named Sheba O'Neill, who is... Rain never actually has his virtuous maidens be just outright Cupid doll prizes that exist for no other purpose than to be won by the victorious man. He never actually does that. And Sheba O'Neill is not like that. She's a 3-dimensional character. And Gordon Elliot, the man who we see the story mainly through his eyes, at least large chunks of it, on his way to the Yukon, on his way to the north, is also a 3-dimensional character. He shows a lot more dimensions as the book goes on. Really, there is... I'm not going to spoil this, of course, because it's over 100 years old and no one's going to read it. But there is a substantial change in this book. About 2/3 of the way through. I won't call it a plot twist. It's too big for that. Rain has been manipulating you as the reader. He has been manipulating your perceptions of his characters entirely in one direction until The story is well underway, and he knows you are completely committed. And then he starts shifting your perceptions in a different direction. It's wild. And at the heart of both of those directions is what I think is the main character in this book, Colby McDonald, who is, as one character puts it early in the book, he's big no matter how you measure him. He's a big man in the territory. He owns a gigantically powerful trapping and merchandise concern. So you have to deal with him. Everyone in the territory has to deal with him, or with Selfridge, his like Wormtongue figure that just hangs around him and takes his orders, and ends up being, of course, key, just like Wormtongue does. Well, this was written before Lord of the Rings. J.R.R. Tolkien very likely read some William McLeod Rain. Very likely he did, before he wrote even a word of The Hobbit or The Lord of the Rings. Who knows what effect? I think I can tell what effect. I can see some of them. I see that a lot in Westerns that I've read for June on the Range. Forerunners of especially Tolkien, but also lots of other like action writers in the 50s. But anyway, that's a digression. Colby McDonald is not only big in that way, in a mercantile way where you have to deal with him, he's also big physically. He's a big, strong, brave, capable man who does not back down from fights, who does not take guff from anyone, who knows what he wants. One character in the novel is asked, so he's straight and honest? And the character says, well, he sure is straight. If he tells you something, he's not going to waste any, you don't have to waste any time doubting that that's what he means. But I don't know about honest. I wouldn't say honest. And it primes you. It sets you up to be suspicious, to be on your edge around Colby McDonald. And that's justified, especially in the last third of the book. That is justified, but his relationship with Sheba O'Neill, his relationship with Gordon Elliott, there's a lot of adventure in this novel. There's a lot of description of, substantially pre-statehood Alaska. A lot of description of the North and the Yukon, where I've spent so much time, and all of it is lovely, just beautiful. Beautiful and also fascinating because it's definitely the area that existed then and that doesn't so much exist now that way. I mean, in that part, northern Alaska, the Yukon, it's easier there now in 2025 to get into this world, the world of the Yukon Trail, than it is anywhere else in the world, I think. It's easier to do. If you can be in a normal, civilized place, a place with, fast food stores and green street signs on the lampposts on the highway and whatnot. You can be there in that area, and then one carefully chosen 90-minute drive, and suddenly you are here. Suddenly you are on the frontier. Suddenly you're well beyond the places where people normally go. And 90 minutes past that, you are in almost wilderness primeval. So I guess, the descriptions in here could still apply to a large part of that area of the world, but here they feel so fresh. I don't know anything about William McLeod Rain. I don't think he's ever had a biography. I don't know anything about his life except for the basics that he wasn't born here. But his books give me the impression that he would definitely have gone to this area or had been there already as a younger man working in order to know it, rather than just go off guidebooks. I'll be horribly mortified if I'm wrong, but I really don't think any of the descriptions in this book come out of a Baedeker guide. I really think they're the natural descriptions. I really think they're him. And I don't want to give away the ending, but this very much sets itself up as a tried and true Western idea of a good man versus a bad man, who maybe have more in common than the good man has with any less good man, or the bad man has with any less bad man, if that makes any sense. You see that a lot in Lauren Esselman, in Elmore Leonard. James Ellroy does it too, but he turns it on its head. But still, it's that underlying brotherhood of alpha males, I guess we could call it, that bonds them even when their interests are at odds, even when they know they're going to have to kill each other. That's definitely here in this book. So that I won't say I didn't care how the plot turned out, but I cared more about that element than I did, the two MacGuffins that Rain scares up in the course of the first third of the book and then chases around for 100 pages. I cared about those things because he's so good at it, but I cared much more about the interpersonal drama. The two men and a woman. And it really works. It really does. I think this is probably not technically June on the Range, but I loved it. So I'm making it my June on the Range report. Tonight, the Western that I read, I will vet and double vet ahead of time. It will not be a William McLeod Rain, and I will make sure that it is actually a Western, that it is set in the American West. This is not set in the American West. I should think, surely, the sine qua non, surely the basic qualification for a Western that we should all have is that it be set in the American West. And this is not. So I flubbed it for June on the Range. I'm hoping that Michael K. Vaughan doesn't kick me off the roster of co-hosts. And I will read a Western tonight. I don't know what it will be. Maybe I'll pick a paperback, because I've been reading a lot of ebooks, like a civilized person would. But maybe I have a lot of paperbacks that I got specifically for June on the Range, and I've been ignoring them. So maybe it's time to stop doing that. But either way, I'll report back tomorrow. Thank you, BookTube.